Hey there, it's Tedra Chanel back with another video. This time I am answering a question that came from one of my beautiful viewers in the UK. I'm not even gonna try to say her name, it starts with a G. But she asked a question, and it was a really interesting question because it's actually a question that I had no answer to up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And what she wants to know is, how do you know you're actually hearing God's voice? Let me slow down. I've been filming for the last few hours, and it's like 2:30 or so in the morning. So let me slow down. First, I will say God speaks to us all in different ways. So think about children. I have 6 children total, and they all receive information differently. There's some of them I gotta yell at in order to get their attention, and some you can speak to in a calm manner. You know, some of them you gotta write things down for them to really get it and understand it. Everybody receives information differently, and God is no different. Okay, so I think that he speaks to each of us differently. And in many ways. It's not just an audible voice that you may hear. I've only heard God's voice one time in my life. And oh God, that was way back in early 2000s. I was actually at church, back when I went to church. I'm actually gonna do a video on why I left church, why I no longer go. But this is back when I was going to church 8 days a week, twice on Sunday, and just getting more and more brainwashed and indoctrinated. I still believe in Jesus, but I have a whole different view on religion at this point. But back then, you know, I was in church, and there was a young lady there who I'd never seen before. She was visiting, and she went up for prayer, and then she was walking back to her seat, and she was crying, and no one was consoling her. And I heard this voice in this ear, so funny, that says, "Go give her a hug." And I heard it like it was an actual person. So it made me actually turn my head, and I knew no one. I always sat on the end of the row because I don't really like sitting right next to people, right? So I always sit at the end of the row, so there's nobody next to me. But I'm thinking maybe somebody's behind me. So I turn and look around, and I'm like, who in the world? So I'm sitting there at this point, like freaking out a little bit. So I'm like, I'm not going to give her a hug. Like, I love people, but I'm a germaphobe. So I don't really do hugs like that. So I'm just sitting there, not going to do it. And, you know, she walks, and she's actually going, you know, making her way to her seat. And he says it again, "Go give her a hug." And I'm just staring at her at this point. She has her head in her hands, and she's crying. And I'm like, no, I'm not. That's weird. She doesn't even know me. I don't know who that is. No joke. I wish I was making this up. It felt like somebody legit was behind me and pushed me, and I stood straight up. It was like somebody pushed me out of my seat. And because I got up so abruptly, I looked crazy. So I'm like, okay, well, now I got to pretend that I got up on purpose on my own. And I went over there and walked and sat next to her, and I put my arm around her. I didn't know what to say because it was so weird. It was so awkward. And, you know, she kind of leaned in, you know, to my shoulder. And once she kind of gained her composure, she actually thanked me, and she said, "I prayed and asked God to send me. I prayed and asked God to send someone over to me because I needed that." And so I was like, oh, that's so, you know, amazing. But it was weird, right? But that is the one and only time that I've audibly heard God's voice. All right. And I wish I was making that story up. He legit like pushed and made me get up. It was an experience. It sounded like a male's voice. It did sound like a male voice. And so that's that on that. God also speaks to us through signs and wonders, right? So we may ask for something in prayer, and the confirmation comes, like the confirmation that I heard you can typically come in any way. It could come from another person. It could come from something on TV, something being said on TV that, you know, it resonates with you, right? And you just know that inner knowing that's God's confirmation. You could be driving down the highway and there's a sign, you know, on the street, on the highway that, you know, has one of your answers. Or he speaks to me a lot in numbers. I see repeating numbers all the flipping time. Also, I see feathers a lot. I see white feathers all the time. So if there's something I'm praying for that's like a big thing, or at least in my eyes, it's a big deal, I'll usually see feathers. I could walk outside my door and there'll be a feather right there. Or I found feathers in my kitchen before, which is so random. Like, how in the world does feathers get in my kitchen? I don't eat meat, so it's not from a chicken. So, you know, but I think the main way that God speaks to us is via our intuition. We have to keep in mind that God dwells within us. And so that voice that we hear, that's our voice, that's how God speaks to us. I think that's one of the main ways, let me put it that way. That's one of the main ways that he speaks to us is via our intuition. So, you know, we've all had that instance where, oh, Ray, we've been praying for, you know, our dream man. We've been praying for him, we're waiting on him. We just feel like if we, you know, find a companion, find someone that we can marry, that our lives are going to be so much better, right? But then here comes Ray. Oh, Ray broke. Ray still live with his mama. He got an old beat up car and had a job in about 3 or 4 months, behind on child support because he got 3 or 4 kids by 3 or 4 different baby mamas. And, you know, Ray is on the struggle bus, right? But he got a good game, got good swag. He cute. He got good teeth, wears nice shoes, you know, but he's still broke. We don't know how he got them, but it sounds good, looks good, right? So we get distracted by, oh, Ray. We know this ain't the man God. We know Ray ain't it. But because we've grown impatient in waiting on the man of our dreams, we settle for Ray. And something is inside of you that's saying, that ain't it. That is not it. You get sign after sign, red flag after red flag, but we ignore it because we want to be with somebody. But we know Ray ain't it, because that intuition, that discernment, that gift that God has given every single one of us, we choose to ignore. So we get caught up with old Ray. We get caught up 3.5 years later. We got 2 babies and 1 on the way with Ray, and we can't find Ray. We don't know, he might be locked up. He done moved on to the next baby mom. We don't know where Ray at. We done been through hell. He done jacked up our credit. He done stole from us. He done wrecked our car. Am I telling? Whew, this is loosely based on real events, okay? Right? But we know better. We know better. But we do it anyway. Because it makes sense in the moment, right? We're going to fix him. This may not be, you know, David, the man of our dreams, but this old Ray, we can polish him up a little bit and, you know, help him out. No, don't do that. You can't be Captain Save a Hoe all the time, right? Some people God got to fix, right? But we women, we want projects and we like to fix our men. What? That makes no sense. So anyway, that's how God speaks to you. He told you, even though it sounded like your voice, in your head, it was your voice, but that's really God speaking to you. That's your intuition. That's that inner knowing. We always know which way to go. We always know which way is right. But sometimes we choose to go left. Even though we know, You know, and at the end of the day, once we've actually gone through that thing, whatever that is that we done been through because we went left, we always sit back and say, dang, something told me not to do that. Something told me not to go there. Something told me not to fool with him. I know you. I hear you. I know that you're agreeing with me right now, right? Because we've all done it. Something told me. Well, that was God telling you that this ain't it, sis. Or daughter, this is not it. So don't let, I don't know what makes us think that, God's voice is always this really deep, mystical voice that rains down from the sky. No, that ain't it, right? He speaks to you in the language that you understand. So there are many ways that he can speak to you. You just have to know which one resonates with you the most, right? So I tend to pay attention a lot to the numbers, right? And the feathers, because those always come with as confirmation. But I also have to pay attention to that inner. That's where you go, is you go in. Like you cannot, usually the outer signs come because you didn't pay attention to the inner signs. You didn't pay attention to that inner voice, right? You didn't pay attention to that. So now he got to kind of throw it in your face, right? Through numbers, through billboards, some random person walking up to you and telling you that, this is what God said. Start paying attention to that inner knowing, that inner voice, that discernment, and the way that you strengthen that to really get the crap out of your ears, so to speak, so you can really hear and know that you're hearing him, is you got to do some inner work. You got to do some spiritual work. You may need to go on a fast. Okay. You may need to up your prayer game. You may need to start meditating and things like that. Okay. To really make sure that voice, like, that God is speaking to you when he is speaking to you. Does it make sense? I really, really hope that makes sense. Love, I really wish that I knew how to pronounce your name, but I don't want to butcher it. But you know who you are in the UK. Thank you so much for asking the question. And I really hope that I was able to articulate this in a way that you understand. I tend to talk like way up here sometimes, right? Because I've been doing this inner work for so long that, I may say it in a way that most people don't really get. So I hope that you got it. I hope that it made sense. Okay, the voice of God is your voice at the end of the day. It's your voice. It's going to sound like you talking to you from inside, is what it sounds like. Okay, we just have to learn how to pay attention and have confidence in your knowing that was God. And if you need extra signs, just ask for them. Say, God, you know what? I heard you, I think, but I'm not sure. So can you do X, Y, and Z? I've asked for many things. I've asked for bells to ring. I've asked for feathers. I've asked for particular numbers, for me to see particular numbers within 24 hours or something like that. That's just me. You can ask for anything. I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything, and it could be very, very specific, and it will come to you in that way. I think I shared in another video where I asked to hear a bell, and God dog it, I heard a bell. How random is that? So whatever other signs, additional signs you need, just ask, and trust me, he's going to deliver that. Okay, so you don't ever have to second guess whether or not you're hearing from God. Just ask for further confirmation. It really is that simple. And again, God's voice is your voice. When he's talking to you, it sounds like you, because it's coming from the inside. That intuition. And we all hear voices in our heads, right? Don't we? Right? It's everybody. We all hear ourselves talking to ourselves from within. That's it. That's God. That's God speaking to you. And stay away from Ray Ray. I don't know who that's for. That's a message.